I'm out here in West Central Missouri with John Hemme and Hemme Brothers Creamery. John, where are we in West Central Missouri?
Oh, we're halfway between Kansas City and Columbia,
Okay.
Off I-70, just 4 miles north. So.
Okay. And we're standing out in one of your fields of cover crops here. Tell us what you got going on.
So when we cut corn silage for our lactating herd, we always put in a cover crop afterwards to try and get some grazing opportunities later in the fall. So we've got oats, rye, crimson clover, and a few other things in here. So.
Okay. How long have you been doing cover crops?
We've done them a long time. We always thought of them as a forage crop. Back then, we would either hay it or graze it. Otherwise, we wouldn't put one in. But always behind corn silage, we thought we'd take advantage of those growing days, and now we're 100% covered on all of our acres.
Okay.
So.
And what all crops do you raise?
Corn, soybeans, wheat, alfalfa.
And obviously some cows.
And milk.
And milk. There you go. And so, John, you attended one of our Soil Health Academy 2-day workshops. It was a year ago, almost to date. What are some of the things that you took away from there that you were able to bring back to the farm and implement?
Oh, there's a lot of things. Just understanding how the soil functions and how to use these cover crops as a tool, because that's what they are in a toolbox. I missed a big part of that early on and thought they were the thing, and they're really just a tool a necessary tool to get diversity in your soil microbiome. So
absolutely. Tell me a little bit of history about your farm too.
So growing up, we were 200 sow, farrow to finish. Dad saw the market starting to tank in the mid-90s, and he started a grazing dairy here, and did both for a while. We really struggled with our silt loam soils, keeping the cows out of the mud here, and wound up actually going confinement dairy, and now we're kind of coming back out of that, trying to be to work in as much grazing as we can. So
absolutely. And you've started a new endeavor here recently with the dairy, with the creamery. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that was a lot of planning. It finally came to fruition in 2016. We made our first batch of cheese, and we mainly make cheddar cheese. And it was a way to bring our last brother home. There's 4 of us brothers and my dad, and it's just been a real blessing. We've got today, well, before the creamery, we had 4 full-grown men working here, and it wouldn't hardly supply a one-person salary. And today with the creamery and all of this stuff, we've got 6 full-time people on this same farm with 4 part-time employees. So
wow,
it's been good.
How big is your market for the creamery business and the cheese?
It keeps growing. Right now we're in Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, maybe a little bit into Illinois there. So it's through distributors. You never know where they're gonna send your stuff, but
wow.
we do wholesale to the distributors, to grocery stores, restaurants, and as much retail as we can. So
absolutely, that's amazing. It's all a part of regenerating life back on the farm and actually the rural communities. Like I said, you're able to have more labor opportunities there as well. So we were talking earlier about the grazing cover crops and how that's worked into your operation. Can you talk a little bit about how much it's helped your cows in terms of milk production, and potentially even how much you've been able to reduce your feed bill by?
So we started out with replacement heifers. That was the easiest. you know, we can get them on different farms away from the milk parlor. And so we always try to plan ahead and find grazing opportunities for them. And it's just been really instrumental in being able to stretch out our grazing season into the winter, as well as it's almost as important to give your perennial pastures that break and give that a longer term break before you come back to them and not overgraze them. And I've always figured when they're on grass, I'm saving about $1 per day per head in my feed cost, and maybe more. It just depends on commodity prices. But you know, for our size of operation, it equates to about $35,000 a year just on our replacement heifers. And then this year we started trying a little trial here with the milking herd, and we were able to actually pick up 4 pounds of milk.
Wow.
Once they moved out there and got adjusted. So
how long was it before you noticed that gain in the milk tank?
The next pickup, it was 2 pounds, and then another, 4 pounds, and maybe another pound after that. So
that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's really impressive for when you look at really how cheap the seed costs are to put in for cover projects and all.
That was just 10 days. It more than paid for all the fencing, all of the seed for this whole farm, and we'll have it to suppress weeds in our soybeans next year. And
yeah, absolutely.
And the cows were able to get out of the barn for 10 days and enjoy themselves. And the labor was, I don't know, more or less, it's about the same. You're just doing different work. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. A little less manure to have to scoop around and everything, which is kind of nice too.
Yeah.
John, you'd retrofitted your planter this past spring, and I remember you called me up, or we were texting back and forth about that, and the local machinery guys thought you were kind of crazy, didn't they?
Yeah.
They told you it couldn't be done. Could you explain a little bit of what you did to your corn planter?
So I learned that I wasn't equipped to plant into a tall cover crop and get the seed in the ground, and so I did a lot of things. I put tanks on the planter to either do 2x2 fertilizer, or I made a spray boom off the back of the planter to where I can be a one-pass man. I also put the Edder Devastators on the front of it, so I can roll, plant, and spray if I think I need to. If I don't think the cover's getting killed by the rollers, I can spray on and off from the cab. It's just a one-pass deal. I pull in the field, and I pull out, and I'm done. It's set for maybe a post spray application. And we had some fields that may not have even needed that this year, but they would have been a little bit weedy. So.
Overall, though, with that type of a program, how much do you think you reduced your herbicide bill by?
$40.
$40 an acre?
I would say so.
Wow, that's impressive.
From what we were used to. I mean, we fight pigweed so hard.
Absolutely.
Here. It's you'll spray yourself broke trying to keep that under control, and it worked really well.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. That's amazing. You also did some nitrogen studies and trials on your farm. What did you learn from that?
I learned that there's potential there. so I learned that I'm not quite there. There were years in there that were really good, because I did a 0, a 70, and a 180. And when we actually went in and did a legitimate yield check, the 100, when we picked out average years, it was at that 140 into a nitrogen producing cover. And the 150 pound applied was 180 bushels, so it bought you 40 bushels.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
very interesting. So in this field here, what's the goal for it next year?
So we'll the only thing that'll overwinter out here, once this is grazed off, will be the cereal rye and crimson clover. and we'll let it get mature. We might graze it in the spring. It just depends on how muddy it is, if we get that opportunity or not. But otherwise, we'll just let it get mature and try to get carbon on the ground when we plant the soybeans, because this is in a corn silage rotation, and that's what we struggle with, just keeping enough residue on the surface. So
absolutely, very nice. So, in this part of Missouri, it's not particularly flat.
Right.
So we actually have, we're setting up here on a terrace that you said is only, 2 years old?
Yeah.
So, if we dig in the soil, let's see what we can find, looking at the root structure and looking at the soils as well. Obviously it's going to be it's going to be a little hard just as we're just created this here. So it looks like, we've got some aggregation happening in the top inch of that soil profile, but we've got good roots going down through there.
Right.
We've got some platy structure, but that's what we expect from, working in that type of a terrace,
Right.
A lot of equipment, heavy equipment over this ground.
Exactly, yeah.
But, with that surface is just, it's really soft. You have a ton of roots up in that top inch and a half or so. And boy, that's just showing us that we're really building something there. And it smells amazing.
Yeah.
There's a ton of roots. When was this planted?
Late August.
Late August. That's
1st of September, something like that.
Yep. So if we can, let's see if we can knock some of the roots off there a little bit, their soil off. Yeah, that's a lot of roots right there.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to fix that soil pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, if we, I don't know if we can get it. Those cows, we can see those over here or not, but they're way off in the distance. Those are your heifers, right? Your replacement heifers.
Yeah.
How old are they roughly?
Those are second period pregnant heifers. So
Okay.
they'll calve in March, April.
Gotcha.
Somewhere in there.
Gotcha. Are they on a TMR out here as well?
No.
No. This is their TMR, right?
Yeah, I will grain just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
just because these are dairy animals, and obviously we got tons of protein out here. The energy would be maybe the thing. And
Yeah.
so I'll feed a little bit of corn, but it's just 2 or 3 pounds, and otherwise it's this.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, hey, John, I appreciate it.
yeah.
And we'll be looking forward to seeing how this spring rolls with it all. About tripped on a radish and broke my ankle there.